Hey everybody, this is Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi out here in California, and I wanted to do a video for you today. The tangle that we're going to be working with is called Cymeco, C-Y-M-E-C-O, and it was created by Lynn Choi, and I just fell in love with this tangle and I wanted to share it with you. I taught this at my class at Riley Street Art Supply in San Rafael this last week, and it was really well received, and it seemed like a lot of people really liked it, so I thought I might make it into a video for you. So what we're going to need for our class, we're going to use one of the Micron pens. I like the PN. If you want to use an 01, you're welcome to do that. And then I also have the Koi watercolor, or rather coloring brush pen. And then I have just a regular pencil. Now, some of you know that I'm a bit of a paper snob. I tend to like really smooth paper, so I have my own paper line at Tangled Yogi, and my tile is a lot like the Apprentice tile, except a different kind of rag than what they use. Mine is a little bit more smooth and receives color a little bit better. This is called the Genesis tile, and that's what I'll be using today. But if you have an Apprentice tile, that would be great too. I think you might really enjoy doing this on that. If you have some of the Strathmore tiles, those are great as well, or whatever kind of smooth paper that you like to work on. So let's just take a moment to get comfortable here. Find a comfortable seated position and let your spine grow tall. Let your shoulders melt away from your ears. And just take a moment to drop into your breath. Taking in a nice deep breath right here. Let it go with a sigh. Take another deep breath right here. Let it go with a sigh. If you want, you can place your hands over your heart. Take a moment to feel your heart beating under your hands. Feel the pulse of your breath under your hands. And just coming into a place of relaxation and ease. So as we practice today, if you find yourself getting very determined and furrowing your brow or shrugging your shoulders up towards your ears or maybe piercing your lips a little bit like you're really determined, see if you can come back to this place of ease and relaxation. Let's take in another deep breath right here. Let it go. And let's tangle, baby. All right, so let's get started here. I'm just going to take away that piece, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with my my piece right here. I've got my pencil. You can use your Zentangle pencil or number 2. It really doesn't matter here. And I'm just going to start by putting my dots in all 4 corners. And you can see I'm going pretty deep with those dots there. They're really deep into those corners, so that's really nice. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to connect my lines. So once you have gone all the way around here, getting that last spot, we'll have a really nice border for us to work in. One last thing before we let go of the pencil here is we're going to just determine where we think the middle of our piece is going to be, and for me that kind of feels like it's right about here. So I'm just going to make a little dot for myself to land on, and if you want to make a dot there, you're welcome to, or if you just want to go for it, you can go for it as well. So I'm going to start with my Micron PN. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start by making 2 lines about 3/4 of an inch long. So here's 1 and 2. And I'll turn. 1 and 2. I'll turn again. 1 and 2. Last one right here. 1 and 2. And you can see that my lines are about the same in their length there. That's kind of important here, so make sure that your lines are all the same length. If you need to pause me right here to finish up what you're doing, go ahead and do so. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep on going. So I'm going to turn my tile on the diagonal so that it's in a diamond-like shape here. And you can see that we have this space right in between where the corner is and the center. I'm going to look for the halfway point here, and I'm going to make a little dot so that I can land on it. So there's my dot right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a Hershey Kiss-like shape or a leaf-like shape, whatever works for you. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let that connect with those two lines right there. I'm going to go around and I'm going to do the same thing over here. So I'm finding that halfway point, laying down the dot, and then I'm going to go ahead and fill it in. Here I go. I'm at the halfway point right here, looking for it. There it is. Making my little Hershey Kiss-like shape. Last one right here, looking for that spot. And then I'm going to go again, right there, landing it up. So if you need to pause to catch up with me here, go ahead and pause me now. Otherwise, we're going to just continue on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to make a dot right above that leaf that we've made, and we're going to do it all the way around just so that we will have a landing point for our aura that we are going to do around this really great shape. Now I have to say, I love this shape just as it is. This would be a great starting point for any other kind of tangle that you want to do today. If you wanted to play around with it and just go hog wild, this is a great place to start. So I tend to choose Zentangles as strings so that I can work around them and do all sorts of different things. And this one just really lent itself quite well to it. So here I go. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to start to aura around my piece here. So you can see I'm just going up and out, and I'm going to hit right there, and I'll come down and around. We're just auraing the outside, and you want to make sure that you're keeping your line nice and even. Easy peasy here. And there I go. Last one right here. Coming around. And there we are. So now we have the aura of our Cymeco, which is the original shape that we started with. And now we'll go into the corners here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to round those corners. You can see I'm just rounding those out, making them nice and soft. There's that. So if you need to pause right now just to catch up, go ahead and do so. Otherwise, here we go. So I'm going to start by making some dots a little bit below our border lines. Our border lines are going to help us to know where we're going with this piece here. So you can see that I'm just a little bit below that border, and I'm just going to drop a line right there, or a little dot right there. And then what I'm going to do is from that area I'm going to make another Hershey's Kiss, and I'm going to let it come about halfway through. Can you see that? It's about halfway through on this line right here. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do the same thing. Hershey's Kiss, drop to the halfway point, and then I'll stop. Then what I'm going to do is I am going to make a dot right on the line there. Can everybody see that? There's my little dot right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to aura from that area. Just like so. So now we're going to go all the way around the piece, and we're going to do that. I'll do it one more time for you, and then we'll catch up with each other. So I'm going to make a dot just a little bit below my border line. I'm coming down, making my Hershey's Kiss. Then I'll go ahead and I'll make a dot right above that kiss, and then I'll come over and out, over and out. So go ahead and finish up the rest of your piece, and we'll meet you in a minute. Okay, so you can see I've gone all the way around here, and I hope you have too, and you've auraed around your Hershey's Kisses there. So the next part that we're going to be working on is going to be inside of the Cymeco itself, and we're going to be doing Sistar. And I love this tangle. I think it's beautiful. I've seen a few people doing it online, and I've just been quite smitten with it. So here we go. The way to do Sistar is like this. So I'm just going to draw a diagonal line from the inside of my leaf towards the center there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a leaf-like shape here. It's almost like a petal-like shape. And I'll do it over here in this area as well. And you want to make sure that those are about the same size. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to puddle in, and for those of you who are not familiar with Zentangle terminology, puddling means laying down ink or puddling ink in an area. And a tip for you who are new to using the Micron pens, if you barely let your pen scratch your page, the faster the ink will come out. So it makes for a very easy puddling job when you are barely touching the page. And you can see that my pen is working in a circular-like motion that really helps it a lot. So there we have the beginning of Sistar. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to aura around it. So you can see I'm just going to come around and I'm going to echo that first set of shapes, and then I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. And then I'm going to echo it again. Just like so. I just think this is such an elegant tangle. I really enjoy it. I think it's such a beautiful piece. So there's that. I'll do it one more time for you guys so that you can see it, and then we're going to do it on our own. So I'm just going to go in here right at this corner. I'm going to make my diagonal line here. I'll start by making my seed-like shape or a little leaf-like shape, or some of you might, recognize this as like when you did eyeballs as a kid, like you would draw eyeballs like this way. So that's kind of another way of thinking about it. Then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to fill that in. And here's my other seed. And then I'm going to go ahead and aura. Now let's make this a little bit more rounded here, just because it's not overly rounded. So now I'm auraing, which means I'm just echoing the line that's in front of it. There we go. And there it is. So there's two Sistars right there. So go ahead and finish up these two, and I'll catch you in a minute. All right, so hopefully you've had a chance to finish up your Sistar on the inside of your piece here. And now we're going to start to work with the exterior just a little bit. We're going to add footlights into this piece. I really liked the idea of overlap and underlap with this particular tangle, so I'm going to show you what I mean by that here. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so that you can really see what I'm up to. So I'm going to start right here in this petal, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by taking a line and bringing it straight up into the piece itself. So I'm just going to go right there. And then I'm going to start to do a couple of diagonal lines on each side. I'm making this really easy for myself just by keeping it very simple. So just two on each side of that initial piece makes it a lot easier, especially for later on coloring. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into where Sistar is and let the floodlights go in there, or footlights, I think that's what this is called. And I'm going to go over here as well and see how that now crosses in, and it gives a really interesting dimension to the piece. I'm going to do it one more time for you so you can see it, and then we'll finish it up on our own here. So I'm going to go straight up, and then two diagonal lines, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. And then I'll go into where Sistar is, 1 and 2. See how I'm picking it up? 1 and 2. There it is. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll finish these two guys on our own. Take your time here. Don't feel rushed. We're just going to be right back when you need us. Okay, well, welcome back. I'm getting ready to start again here. One of the things that we're going to do first is we're going to work with our outside exterior area here. So we have these nice areas in which to work in that doesn't have anything in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to just start from the sides here. You can see I've got these points that are touching here, and I'm just going to go a little bit beneath those, and then watch. I'm going to make a crescent moon shape that goes in towards the corner, and then I'll turn my tile and I'll do it again. I'm going to make a crescent moon, and you want to make your crescent moons big enough so that you can work inside of them. So I'm going to just keep turning around my tile. Here comes another one. Boom, right there. Here comes another one. Boom, right there. And another one. I'm going to do another one right here. So you can see I'm always landing right before where that tip is touching the border here. Right here. And right there. So here we are. We've got this really nice new dimension to the shape, which I think is really, really nice. So we're going to work with our little area here, but if you want to pause me just for a second, go ahead and do so, and we'll catch up in a minute. For those of you who want to keep going, we're just going to keep going here. I'm going to turn my piece on the diagonal. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a triangular-like shape that hopefully is going to line up with this piece right here. So I'm just going to go one, and you can see they're not touching, but they're pretty close. And then what I will do is I will go inside, and if you have the room, go ahead and do it. I'm going to aura the inside of the diamond there. See how that worked? So I'll go to the next one and I'll do the same thing. So I'm just going to make a upside down V, or the beginning of a uppercase A. See how I'm really, really close, but I'm not quite touching. And then I'm going down, and then I'll go ahead and I'll aura the inside of the diamond as much as I can. And then I'll turn again. 1 and 2. I'm going to aura. And then I'll go last one right here. Almost touching. Aura the inside. Ta-da! So there we go. If you need to pause and catch up with us, this would be a great place to do that. So I will see you when you jump back in. For those of you who are going to continue on with me here, what we're going to do is we're going to start to do some thatching. And I'm not exactly sure the name of this tangle, and if you want to share it with me in a comment, that's great. I'm always in need of help remembering the names of all these tangles that we have. That seems to be my one weakness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to work inside of our crescent moons here, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to start by going to the middle point of where the crescent moon is, and you'll see that I'm going to just do a little triangle right here. And then I'm going to do another triangle, and see how that triangle is just a little bit smaller. That's fine. You just want to keep it going. And then the same thing over here. So I'm really partial to this tangle. I use it a lot in a lot of my pieces here. So I'm just going to show you how to do it, and then I'm going to have you go all the way around. So I'm going to make this nice and big for you so that you can see it here. So when we're doing this, we want to follow a line so that we don't get confused. So I'm going to be using the right side of the triangle for my line. And what I will do is I'll start with this middle one first because it's the biggest and you'll be able to see it clearly. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to aura that line all the way out. See how I did that? So I'm just going to the other side of this triangle here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'll go to the side of this triangle, 1, 2, And then I'll come back here since this little guy over here needs a little bit of attention here, and we'll just add those just like so. So now that you have that, you know now the opposite way that it needs to go. So we're going to be using the left side of the triangle line as our guide. So here we go. I'll do the big ones first so you can see them. So I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this one's going to need 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, maybe one more. And last one. 1, 2, and 3. I'll come back over here, finish him up. Now see, I have this little awkward space over here. I'm just going to go ahead and I will make another line just like that, and it will look like it was meant to be there the whole time. So we're going to do that all the way around. I'm going to do one more demo for you, and then we'll pause and you guys can do it on your own. So I'm just going to go to the center of my, my crescent moon here, making a triangle, just like so. Then I'm going to make the triangles that are next to it. Notice how those triangles are getting just a little bit smaller. That's just fine. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the thatching, okay? So I'm using now the right side of my triangle. I'm looking at that line and I'm going to aura that line. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then over here, 1, 2. This one could probably use an extra one right there. And I'm coming over here. Now we're going to switch. You ready? We're going to the left side of the triangle now. So we're looking for this line to aura. So here I go. All right, so there you have it. Really beautiful detailing that's going to go on the outside of the piece. So I'm going to pause here. I'm going to finish up mine all the way around. I'm going to have you do the same, and we'll meet back here when you're done. Okay, so I'm back here, and you can see that I've had the opportunity to go all the way around and do the thatching all around the piece. How many of you were holding your breath while you were doing that? I know I was. I had to catch myself a couple of times and take some deep breaths in. So if you found yourself holding your breath, I ask you to just be mindful and observant of it and see if you can bring your breathing back in as we finish up the rest of the piece here. So we're going to start just by doing some puddling. And I was talking about this brush a little bit earlier. I've got the coloring brush pen that I really like. Now, I know Micron has a really nice brush pen. I know Tombow has a beautiful brush pen that I'm absolutely in love with. I gave mine away to one of my students. I ordered another one, so it's coming. I just hate for my students to walk away without having the proper materials, so there it is. So I'm going to use my koi pen today. I got this actually while I was at my teacher training, so I know that Rick and Maria like this one too, so that's a nice thing to know. So we're going to do some puddling, and I do like the brush pen because it just helps it to go a lot quicker. If you don't have a brush pen, you can always do it with your pen, or if you want later on in the piece, you may use color pencil and use that as a different color in your background. So that's just an option for you. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start, and you can see by the way that I'm moving my pen around, you can see that it's moving in a circular like motion. I'm not going like this because then you get stack up where you can see all your lines. So if you move your brush in a circular like motion, it tends to give it a really nice soft puddling feel to it. So go ahead and take out your pen and start to work your way around. So we're just going to be working around in this interior area. You can see I'm just kind of pointing it out as I go all the way around, and I'll show you what it looks like right in here. So we're going in and around all of those areas right there. So go around your piece, puddle in, and I'll just do this one for you while we're together so that you can get a really clear idea of what it is that we're puddling, because I'd hate for you to go into your other parts of your tangle, that might be an opportunity that might be a little hard to come back from, right? So I'm just going to go over here and do the same thing. So you're just looking for the areas that are filled with white, and you're just puddling around in those areas. And you can see how fast this pen works just by having that around. It's one of the best tools in your toolbox, I think, for puddling, especially if you do a lot of black. And I have to say that black has become one of my favorite things to add to a piece, just because I find it so very grounding to a very busy Zentangle. This one happens to be pretty liney, so adding in black or solid blocks of color definitely tends to calm a tangle down and give the eye a place to move to and have a respite. Okay, so I think you've gotten a pretty good idea of where we're supposed to be puddling. I'm going to pause here and let you catch up, and I'll see you in a minute after you've gone all the way around. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to go around your piece and puddle in everything. I am done with my puddling, and I think it turned out pretty great. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to talk about. One, you probably noticed that if you had any messy lines, you were able to kind of clean it up as you puddled around, which is a really nice trick that I think the blackening around a piece can do. So that's a really nice trick. If you ever have some lines that don't feel really great to you, you can always go in and use a lot of black, and it'll clean up those lines and make it really pretty. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is that, you know, when you do a tangle one day, it's very different than when you try to go back and recreate it. And so when I was teaching my piece to my students, this was the piece that I had created initially. But then when I taught the piece that day, we ran out of time, and so we didn't have time to do the thatching in the borders. So we ended up doing this really nice kind of glowy feeling inside of the crescent moons. So what I want to put out there to you is that, you know, if you go back and you do this tangle a couple of times, give yourself the freedom to break it up and try it in different ways. You're never the same person twice, and you're never the same person from yesterday to today. So however you express yourself, you're always going to do it a little bit differently. The other thing that I want to talk about in here is our little diamonds that we have here. Now on this one, I ended up coloring in my diamonds with the color that I used in my border there with my crescent moon. But in the first one, I puddled in my diamonds. So I thought I would give you that option as well, whichever one strikes your fancy more. So you may decide to do that now, or you may decide to do it a little bit later. In fact, I would say put it off till later, because we're going to start to do color. So I'm just going to take that guy away here, and I want you to start to come back to Cymeco, which was our first tangle that we did going all the way around. And I want you to think about the color that you would like to see inside of Cymeco. The first time that I did mine, I did it with a really brilliant orange and red, and then the second time I chose a really pretty green to do it with. So you could do it in so many different ways. Today I'm going to do it with turquoise, because I'm feeling turquoise today, people. Now, one thing to note about turquoise and other very light pencils, so like, you know, if you're using a chartreuse, or if you're using a turquoise like this one, they have what we call a very light viscosity, which means it doesn't have a heavy body of pigment. So one of the things that I talk with my students about when I'm teaching them color is that you have your light, you have your medium, and you have your dark. Now sometimes when you're using something like a chartreuse, you have your light, you have your medium, and you have your dark. Sometimes it's just not enough, and you need to have a complementary color nearby. So if you're working with like a chartreuse, you might want to grab a forest green, because if you rub a little bit of a light tension over the forest green, you can see that I get a really nice blend there of depth. And then if you're using something like a turquoise and you want to get a little bit more depth, I've chosen this peacock blue that's really nice, and you can see that it adds a little bit more depth as well. And you can see that the Prismacolors are great for blending with. They're really just quite lovely. So that is something to keep in mind. So pick your colors, and we're going to start to color in, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. So I'm just going to make this nice and big for us, and I'm going to go in with my lightest tension, and I'm just going to start, and you can see that my hand is pretty far back on the pencil. I'm not up here gripping for dear life. I'm back a little bit, and I'm just starting to rub that pencil along the paper. I'm not doing a really heavy tension. I want it to be light at first. You know, the last time that I went to the 1440 and saw Rick and Maria, I did their Beyond Basics class, and Rick was saying that somebody should be able to slide your pencil out of your hand with ease. So if you find that you're one of those people that grips your pencil for dear life, I want you to put Rick's words in the back of your head, and just remember, nice and loose and easy here. It doesn't have to be one of those things where you're holding on for dear life. I often think that Zentangle is a metaphor for how we are in life. If we're really gripping hard and being very tense with the colors, it turns out we might be doing that with other things too, like the way that we drive or the way that we manage things. So it's just something to observe. So you can see that I'm just going around into all the petals here, and I'm just really lightly laying down that color. And I'm even going into the middle here just a bit. And you're probably thinking to yourself, why is she going all the way around? Why isn't she just doing one section? Well, because I want you to be able to get a really clear idea before you jump off and do this on your own. So, okay, I've gone all the way around now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the center first. And I'm just going to start with a medium tension in the center. So you can see that I've already got that started. And look at how my pencil is going in a circular-like motion. And I'm going about halfway down each channel. You see how I'm going in a circle and I'm going halfway down each channel? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here now. I'm going to go with that circular-like motion. See how I'm leaving that light right there? I want to have that light. And then I'm going to go halfway through here and halfway through here. And then I'll come up here and I'll do the same thing. I'm going to get nice and smoky around the tip of that leaf. Nice and smoky, leaving that center nice and light over there, coming over here. And then I'll do the same thing right over here. I'm just giving you the idea of what we're up to here. And then I'm just going to do this section so that you can see it, and then you can do the rest on your own. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. I've got that peacock blue now that I'm going to be using with the turquoise. And I'm starting from the center here, and I'm using that circular-like motion with my pencil here. And you can see that I'm going about halfway up that medium tension, and I'm just starting to lay down that darker color, and you can already see that it's starting to give it the depth that I'm looking for in my shading. Now, by the way, if you are one of those people that you're strict about your Zentangle and you just want to do this with graphite, you are totally welcome to do this with graphite. I just happen to like using color, but if you want to do this with graphite, everything that I'm teaching you here right now is definitely transferable to that. The other thing that I wanted to say was, if you don't like using graphite but you want to use gray, there's a really nice cool gray in the Prisma color set that's quite lovely too. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to start to move up the sides. See how that pencil is moving in that circular-like motion, getting nice and blendy here. And then I'll come up over here as well. And I'm using a very light tension with this darker color. And I'm only going about halfway down there, and then right here, I'll do the same. So we're right here. So there you see, just in this little quadrant right here, the kind of shading that we've been doing. Okay, so I'll just come over here and do a little bit more of a demo for you, and then I'm going to let you go off on your own and finish it up. So I'm going to go back in here. I'll do a medium tension right here at the tip of the leaf. Now notice I'm coming about halfway down. I'm going to leave my light right there. You can see there's my light. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do the same thing, leaving a little bit of the light. Medium tension right here. Going halfway down this channel right here. See how I'm leaving light right there? And then I'm going to switch pencils. I'm in my turquoise. I just went over to my peacock blue. I'm making a circular-like motion here. And I'm going about halfway down that color. Getting a nice deep, deep color here. Same thing over here. I'm using about a medium tension. And then I'm coming up and over. Leaving that light. You always want to leave the light there. You need that contrast. And don't be afraid to really get in there and put that color down. And there it is. So you're just going to do the same thing in the next two sections, okay? All right, I'll see you on the other side. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to go all the way around just like I have. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger for you here. So now we're going to concentrate on these pieces out here. So you can see I've got these areas in which to go around. So I'm just going to go in once again with that turquoise that I started with. And then I will leave that white spot. See how I'm like right here on the turn? It's kind of a nice place to leave that little shiny spot there. I'm going to go around again. And then I'll come up over here. Notice how I'm leaving that white spot on the turn. Nice shine, give a dimension. And then I'm going to go in with that medium tension. I'm in the same pencil. I'm still using my turquoise here. Medium tension right there. And then medium tension right in here on the tip of the leaf. And then I'm going to switch into that peacock blue now. So I'm going in and I'm just bringing in that nice light tension with the peacock blue. You can see how that's really giving me that nice depth of color that I'm looking for. I'm looking for that pop. All right, so now it's your turn. I'll see you on the other side. Go ahead and finish this one, and this one. I'll see you soon. Okay, so I'm back. I've had a chance to go all the way around, and I'm really liking the way this turquoise is turning out. It's really pretty. I didn't know how it was going to look, and I really love it. It's got a very kind of soft, glassy kind of feel to it. So we are going to move on to our next part, and we're going to work on Sistar. And for mine, you know, I handled it two different ways. The first one for my class, I alternated on Sistar. You can see I used purple and green going through, and I thought that was really pretty and kind of gave it a little punch, a little bit of electricity. But then what I decided to do for when I was at class was I decided to alternate in a different way, and I used some really interesting neutrals. I used a graphite and I used a gold, and I thought, oh, you know, that has a really nice appeal too. So I want you to think about how you would like to do Sistar. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to alternate the way that I did with this one, but I'm going to use maybe some more punchy colors on it because I really did like the way that it turned out. So I'm going to come back to the piece that we're working on right here, And I think for mine, you know, I'm thinking of sea glass. You know, that's something that I think about when I think of turquoise, and you often see green sea glass. And then I'm going to use some graphite as well with the green. So you choose the colors that feel right to you, and then we're going to go for it here. So I'm going to start with a chartreuse kind of color. It's a bright green, and I'm just going to start to lay down that color right in the center here. Now notice that I'm kind of picking up when I get to the middle here, and I'm leaving a little light. And then I'm going to go over here, and I'm also leaving a little light on the turn. When I use my darker color, you'll be able to see that a little bit more clearly. In fact, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Oh yeah, look at that. Okay, so that's going to help us out a bunch. So here we are. I've got either side going here. And then I'm going to go in now with my green. So remember when we talked about the viscosity, that this just doesn't have a whole lot of heavy pigment in it. And when you're working in a tight space, it's always nice to have that complementary color in there. So I'm going to go in, I'm grabbing that nice forest green, and I'm just going to hit the edge here. And then I'm going to come right in here and use it right there. I'll go right in here. And you can see I'm just being very, very light and gentle with the way that I lay down that color. Using that nice circular motion there. Trying to leave those light spots. And isn't that so pretty? Like if you step back for a second, taking a nice deep breath and look at that, let it go. That's really pretty. I really like it. So that when I come in now and I start to do my graphite, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm just barely scratching the paper with my graphite pencil, just barely touching it. And then see how I'm lifting up and I'm just leaving light there. And I'm going to do the same over here. And then I'm going to go over here. I'm going to leave a little light right there on the edge. Leave a little light in the center. There I go. Okay, so you can see now that I've got that nice lightness going on. Now I'm going to go in with a little bit more darkness. So I'm looking for the areas where I can put that down. There it is. These are really, really nice colors together. And I'll do the same thing right here. I'm getting a really nice shimmer off of that. Isn't that pretty? So I'm going to go around into each of these quadrants here, and I'm going to put those in there. So you choose which colors you want to do and go for it, and I'll see you on the other side. All right, so we're back, and I didn't expect this, but it feels like a stained glass window to me. It's got that beautiful feeling to it, and so I'm just going to keep on going with that. So we're going to start to think about our footlights. That's these guys right here. So I want you to notice, just for a moment, I'm going to turn this on the piece here. You might see that there's a star that has formed behind our sistar. Now, in my class this last week, I did make that star come out a little bit heavier. Now, my first piece, I did not. I focused on the diagonals that were in there. So you can choose how you want to go about shading this. I think for today, though, I'm going to go back with my seashell shapes here. I really enjoyed this, and I thought that this was really pretty, and I just thought it gave a lot of dimension to the piece. So I'm not going to exaggerate the star for this particular one, but if you want to, I'm going to say go for it. One of the things that I say to my students all the time is, I am not telling you what to do, I'm merely giving suggestions. So however you want to move forward, you are the artist and the creator of your piece. I am merely the guide that's taking you there. So we're going to go back to where we were, which is here. Oops, I just lost a pencil. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose now the colors that I would like to see in there. Now, one of the things that I talk to my students about a lot is contrasting colors. Contrasting colors give pop. So when you're seeing something, you want to make sure that you see the contrast in it. So I'm seeing this really pretty green, I'm seeing this really pretty blue, so I'm kind of feeling like it's time to bring purple in there. So I'm using a really pretty magenta, and then I've got a really pretty like bluish violet color that I think will be really nice as my complementary color. So we were talking about the viscosity of things, and it's okay to turn your tile over and see how certain colors are going to go with each other, right? So here's that magenta color that I'm working with, and now I'm going to go in with that violet blue, and you can see that it gives it really a beautiful depth, and I think that that's going to look really pretty with each other. So I'm going to turn my tile over here, and we're going to start. So I'm going to take my pencil, and you can see that I'm far back. I'm not up here, I'm back here, and I'm holding my pencil nice and loose, and I'm holding onto my page so it doesn't move around, and I'm just going to start right here. Notice how I'm moving in a circular-like motion here, and I'm starting to fill in, coming up here, and I'm doing the same up here. Now I'm looking to skip this one, and I'm going to go into this one right here. And you can see I've got this teeny tiny little area right there. I'm going to get in there, and then I'm going to come over here, and I'll do it right there. Okay, so once I have that, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to give some depth. So we just did that with our lightest tension. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with a heavier tension. That means I'm pressing down on my pencil just a little bit harder, and I'm going about halfway up this stripe. And I'm kind of lifting off at the end a little bit just so that I get a nice blended motion there. And we'll talk about shading this a little bit later. So now I'm going to come in and go about halfway up. So you can see that I'm thinking about the strip all the way through. So when I said halfway up, it's literally halfway up from where it was, right? I'll give this a little bit heavier tension. You can see it's giving it a little bit of depth, but it's not getting all of the depth that I'm looking for. I'm looking for the wow factor. I'm looking for the pop. I'm trying to blend out that line of demarcation there because I don't want to see a really heavy line. Same thing over here, coming in with a little bit heavier tension there, coming about halfway up. Now watch. So now I'm going to lighten up my pencil load here and see how that gives me a nice blend out. That's what we're looking for, a nice soft blend out. So now I've switched. Now I'm in my violet blue, and I'm with my lightest tension here, and I'm just going to start to lay down some of that pigmentation. And you can see the pow that gives us. It gives us a really, really nice look. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do the same thing. Shazam! It's going to give it that really pretty intensity. And then I'm coming over here. Abracadabra, we've got a little bit of depth going on there, and it's really pretty. So I really like the look of that, and I'm thinking to myself, well, what is going to give me a really nice contrast for that purple? Well, you know, one of my favorite colors to see next to purple is orange or yellow. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this really nice orangey yellow color. What are they calling this? I can't even read that. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to go in and I'm going to start to lay down that orangey yellow. And then I'm going to go in now with a little bit more. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to go in with a little heavier tension here, as I just want to make sure that I'm giving it its due. Then I'll go in with my orange, And by the way, you always want to have your pencils nice and sharp for you. That's going to give you the best lines. And you can see that really gives it such a nice contrast, doesn't it? It's so pretty. So the same thing over here. Just going in, using that nice smoky tension. Come up here, lay that down in there. Same thing over here. Right. And then I'm going in, I'm giving it a little bit heavier tension. I'm pushing down on that pencil a little bit stronger, so I'm getting a little bit of that depth. Same thing over here. All the while I'm breathing here and my shoulders are relaxed. I'm not fighting it, I'm just enjoying where I'm going. I know where I'm going now, so it doesn't have to be such a strain. Breathing, relaxing, and just being with the zen of the moment. And that's generally what coloring is. It's the zen of the moment. You know what you're doing. And then I'm coming over here and doing the same thing over here. Looks really pretty. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to do that in each and every one, and I will see you on the other side. You go ahead and do the same. Don't forget to breathe. Okay, so I'm back and I've had a chance to go around my piece here, and I really like the way that it's going. It's definitely got a little bit more electricity to it. So what I want to talk about is the idea of overlap and underlap. And so we have this piece right here that's on top of these pieces right here. So we want to shade those to give that element of knowing that something is on top of or below of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going in with my violet color that I was using in my purple stripe here, and I'm just going to go around ever so slightly around that part of the petal, and then I'll go around over here and do the same thing. And then I'm going to do it again on the other side just to let it be known, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the same. And then I'll go back in and just right on the line I'm putting a little bit of heavier tension just so that it really looks like it's casting a shadow. And then I'm going to do the same thing but with my orange right here. So I'm using a medium tension right here so that it looks like it's creating that shadow as well. And you want to make sure that your pencil is nice and sharp. I'm going to actually sharpen mine up really quickly. And then I'll go back in and I'll just nice and heavy here right along that line. And you can see that it starts to make it glow, right? So over here, it doesn't have that, but over here it does. Notice the difference there? So I'm going to have you go around and do all of those lines inside and outside so that you get that nice pop. It's going to make that piece lift up a little bit, okay? I'll see you on the other side. Don't forget to breathe. So as you can see, I've been able to go all the way around and finish up the piece here. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be focusing in on our diamonds here. And I want you to think about what you want to see in your diamonds. I know that for one of them I did black in them, so it looks like this right here. But in the last one I did color inside of the diamonds, and I really enjoyed that. So I think I'm going to try that technique on this one, but I'm going to let you choose what you would like to see on that. So if you want to go with the black or you want to go with this one, it's perfectly up to you. So I am looking at the purple and really enjoying the idea of carrying the purple out here into my diamonds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by going in and laying down some of that purple in there. And you can see that I'm just working in the exterior here. And see how I'm leaving the light right in here? Make that a little bit bigger so you can see it. So I'm leaving the light right in this area right over here. I'm going to do a little heavier tension there. I'll grab my little violet piece, do just on the tips of the diamonds there, just to give it that oomph. And then in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with that yellow, and I'm just going to do a really nice light yellow in there. And then I'll go in with my orange, and just on one side, I think, I'm going to do the orange, and then I'll use a little heavier tension with that orange towards the bottom. So you can see that that gives it a really neat glowy kind of feeling. And if I want to go back with some white pen later on, boy, that's going to look really neat. So go around and finish up your diamonds in your corners, and I'll see you on the other side. Okay, so I've had a chance to go around and finish up my diamonds, and I think they're going to turn out really, really nicely. So the next piece to our puzzle here is that we want to do our thatching that we have all the way around. Now, for me, I really enjoyed the idea of the green with the graphite, and so I'm going to pull that into the exterior of my piece. So I'll show you what I mean by that, and I'm going to do some shading for you so that you can see as I desperately look here for where that little chartreuse went. And I think that was the pencil that fell. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose which side of the piece I'm going to work on. And I think I'm going to do the green on top here. So what I mean by that is I'm just going to go in with my light green. Let me make this a little bit bigger so that you can really see it. So I'm going to go in with that green, and you can see that I'm just filling that in with a nice light tension. Remember how we talked about the pigment in this is not going to be really good for small spaces. So I'm going to pull in my forest green now. And now what I'm going to do is with my lightest tension, I'm going about halfway up each one of these rungs here. Everybody see that? I'm just going halfway up the rung. Really pretty color here. Now I'm going to go in with that heavy tension. So I'm going to press down a little further on that pencil here. You can see I'm even up a little higher on my pencil. So I'm pressing down, giving it a really good tension. So it almost gives it an ombre effect. You know, I really do love that look. I think it's so pretty, and it really gives a nice shading. Now, I want to have a nice contrast at the bottom. So what I'm going to do, and I'm barely touching the page, I've got my graphite in my hand here. This is my regular pencil, my number 2. I'm barely touching this, really just getting in there with hardly any tension at all. And then what I'll do is I'll go in there now with my medium tension. And then I'm going to go in with that heavier tension. See how that's working? So I'm just giving it a little bit more tension just on that outer edge. But see how I have the light here and then the dark here? Don't lose your light. The light is what gives it the contrast, right? So don't lose your light. So you can see that's the whole block right there, and I'm going to go all the way around now my whole piece and do all of that, and I'll see you on the other side. Take your time. Okay, so you can see that I've finished up my border here, and I think it turned out pretty great. I'm happy with it. It's got a lot of energy. It's got a lot of spark to it. So the final thing to do when we're finishing up is to put our chalk, which is our initial, on our piece. So what I did was I hid my initial right here. I like to hide my initials somewhere inside the piece so that it isn't so right in your face. So I put mine right there. So go ahead and put your chalk on your piece. And then the other thing that I would ask of you is I hope that you will share your work with me. You can always send me an email at tangledyogi.com. You can leave it in the contact area. It'll show you how to leave me an email. Or you can go on Facebook and look for Tangled Yogi there and share a post with me there. But I would really love to see your work, and I hope you enjoy the piece. And that's it for now. Go and have fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what you create. Bye for now.